Michael Lim.
Good morning.
All right, cholesterol. What's going on with cholesterol?
It's going to be a big week for cholesterol.
All right.
Going to be a big week for some other things. There's about 4 worldwide big weeks where health news from a heart standpoint really takes prime
Center
spot.
stage. Okay.
And this is one of those weeks. So Friday in the great city of Washington, D.C.,
Right.
we will gather and we're going to hear about a new drug, what's called a PCSK9 inhibitor.
Okay.
It reduces bad cholesterol, or LDL, by about 60%, even on top of the so-called statin therapy. And this was approved because there's a lot of folks that can't tolerate statins or have really high levels of LDL cholesterols, and so the FDA approved it a year and a half, 2 years ago. But the study that comes out this week is actually going to look at whether it really does what it's supposed to do, which is prevent heart attacks. And because of the world we live in terms of these companies are owned by stockholders, the company already released a news release saying it what they said is met its primary endpoint, which means that it did a significant job of reducing heart attacks and heart events in those people that were taking it. So this is going to be a positive study talking about a new drug that has a great deal of role in preventing further heart attacks.
This new drug has already been out in the market for 2 years already?
It has.
Okay.
It has. It's a drug that's been used based on the numbers out there of really, really powerful LDL lowering therapy, but it didn't have the long-term benefits. And so this study is called Fourier, 25,000 patients who have already coronary artery disease or heart disease.
Right.
And they were half of them were randomized to get put on this drug, and half of them got a placebo. We don't know the level of effect yet, and the magnitude of effect, but it will be a positive study and will be released on Friday.
So as a heart doctor, this is pretty extraordinary news. Where does this rank?
This ranks as very exciting because, you know, although statins have been around for a long time and many of them are generic and some of the costs are coming down for those, there's still a whole lot of people who, can't tolerate statins because it causes significant muscle weakness, and they try X and Y and Z and all the different types of statins, and it gets frustrating. And so we have something now for those types of people. And B, there are some people who do everything right. They eat right, they exercise, they take their statin, and their LDL cholesterols are still pretty darn high. Meaning like in the 120s, 130s, 150s range, and this drug allows us something else we can do for them.
What is a high? I always get the good and the bad cholesterol mixed up, and what's the right level?
So cholesterol is kind of like the Western, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we used to talk about regular total cholesterol levels, and that number of 200 probably kind of still sits in your mind and everybody else's. Is, oh, if my total cholesterol is less than 200, I'm okay. You know, I actually don't even look at the total cholesterol number anymore on patients. We break it down into the good, which is HDL, and remember that's good because H stands for we want that as high as possible. There is no maximum you can get that. The higher number there, the better off you are. Unfortunately, there are many genetic predispositions, one of them being a man, which lends itself to having just lower HDL cholesterols than desirable. So that's the good. The bad is the LDL. L stands for lousy or bad. And we want that as low as possible. So L for low. If you have coronary artery disease, so if you've had a stent, if you've had bypass surgery, if you've had a heart attack before, there's really good information out there that suggests that really low levels of that is highly beneficial, meaning having levels in the area of 60 or 70 is highly beneficial. Normal, if we take ours, the three of us around the table, they're probably in the 1-teens range, you know, and I'm going to make a supposition that none of us have had a heart attack before. So that would be an okay number. But if you've had a heart attack, then we sort of up the ante for that, so to speak. And then the ugly is the triglycerides. And triglycerides are a little bit harder to manage. They don't necessarily get lowered by any of these drugs that we're talking about. A lot of times people have high triglycerides because of trouble with their diabetes. And if we get the diabetes better in order, the triglyceride levels will come down. So that's the 2-minute snapshot on cholesterol.
Can you, outside of drugs, can you lower your cholesterol number by eating right and exercising?
Absolutely. But you probably can't lower it more than 20%.
Okay.
Okay, so that's why the trick is, and just last week in Arizona where I was at, the gentleman asked me, what's the one thing I can do to improve my heart health? And this is a common question. It kind of feeds into current society. We want just one thing,
right.
And unfortunately, the answer is not just one thing. So it depends on the individual person. So it might be just one thing for each individual person, but you can't generalize that as much. And number two is it's not just one thing a lot of times for an individual person. So you have to eat better. You have to exercise, and sometimes you also have to take medications. And so it might be 3 things to do everything possible to lower your risk of having a heart attack.
Good stuff. Dr. Michael Lim, cardiologist with SLU Care and SSM Health SLU Hospital. Doctor, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
8:20